Hey guys, welcome back. So in this video series, I will walk you down the path of Python scripting for artists. Today, we will learn how to write a script to rename the selected objects in Maya. So we're just gonna go through the basics. This is gonna be just a brief introduction video to Python, but just stay till the end because I'm gonna show you a little trick that it's gonna hopefully save you a lot of time, especially if you're working in production. So in this tutorial, I will give you an overview on the script editor, how to import and use the Maya commands, how to store the result of a function into a variable, how to use a for loop, and finally how to manipulate a string for renaming the objects. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so let's start taking a look at the script editor. To open the script editor, you just have to click on this icon here and it will show up. So there are two main areas in the script editor. The one on the top, which is the history, and it's keeping track of basically almost everything that we do in the scene. And then there's the one on the bottom, which is the input. So the input supports two different scripting languages. Mel, which is the Maya native scripting language, and then there is Python. So if you guys only see Mel here and you want to use Python, you just have to click on the plus here, select that the source language is going to be Python. You have a new tab where you can write Python commands. So let's go back to the history and let's see how we can basically select an object, do like move it around, and then repeat the same action that we did on this object to the other one. So let's say I move it, I select and scale, and here I got basically 4 lines, which select, move, rotate, and scale. So I'm just gonna copy these 3 lines here and I'm gonna paste them into a Mel input. So the reason why I'm using Mel is because the history in Python is always in Mel, so you're always returning Mel commands. So if I select these 2 guys and I run the script just pressing the play here, it will repeat the same actions that I did on this one. Okay, so this is quite straightforward and it's very useful in case we want to repeat the same actions on other objects. It's great for macros. So okay, so now let's see if we can use the history to find out which one is the Maya command to rename the object. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna name this object to cylinder, and let's see what the history is, which command the history is showing up, which is this one, rename. So let's see if we can turn this command into Python. So if I just paste, copy paste this is the Mel syntax, so it will throw an error. If I run it, it will throw an error. So let's just comment out this line, just putting an hash character in the front. So this basically will tell Python to ignore this line. And so the first thing that we have to do if we want to use the Maya commands in Python, we have to import them. So let's type import maya.cmds. So basically after us, this is a namespace, so we can type pretty much anything, but the convention is usually cmds or mc. So now we want to use the rename command, so we can type cmds dot and then the name of the Maya command that we want to use. So in this case is rename, and then it turns blue. The reason why it turns blue is because so it has found the a function into the Maya commands. So the way the syntax with the function works in Python is that we have to put input the parameters between parentheses. So we always have to, after the function, we always have to put parentheses, and then here between the parentheses we have to feed the two parameters. So let's rename this object again. So I'm gonna grab the new name, which is the current name now, and then I'm just gonna name it cylinder, and let's run the script and see if that works. And yes, we didn't get an error, and it renamed the object. So this was quite straightforward, but for those who are not familiar with Python, there's always we can always take a look in the documentation. So we can just grab the command from the history. We know that cmds dot the name of the Maya command is gonna give us the command, and then we can just write select here, and then just go into comment, right click, and then just go into comment documentation, and then basically it's gonna give us the synopsis here. So but what is, and then all the flags here on the bottom, or in this case rename doesn't have many flags, but what is most important and what has really helped me a lot is all the examples here. So we can always grab an example and just copy and paste, and let's see if I can find, so I can change the name of spheres. There's a comment here that says, so I can use this guy, just copy and then paste it here, and then just basically replace the two arguments. So in this case it could be piece, and run the script, and it will work. Okay, so let's move to the next step. Okay, so let's start writing this renaming script. And so the first thing that we have to do, we say we want to write a script that it's gonna get the selected objects, and then it's gonna change the names of the objects. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do, let's write down all the steps. So it's gonna go get the selection, and then loop. We're gonna loop the selected objects, and then we're just gonna go, in this case, well, what we can do, we can add a prefix. So add a prefix, and then rename the objects. Okay, cool. So we got all the steps down here. So the first thing, we have to get the selections. So how do we get the selection? So to get the selection, we have to use one Maya command that is called ls. So let's see how ls works. So we can type cmds.ls and then parentheses, and so what happens if I run this command? This is basically listing everything that it's in the scene, but if we put one of the flags, which is selection SL, and we say that it's equal true, we're just gonna get the selected objects. So let's see if I run this command, what happens. Yeah, it's gonna just give me whatever I have selected, so these three objects. Okay, so but now, I mean, we're running this command, but we're not storing it anywhere. So that's why we have to use a variable. So in this case, we're gonna just create a variable called selection. So and then we're just gonna put people, and then we're gonna type the command, which is cmds.ls. So in this case, now selection is gonna hold whatever the ls function is returning. So if I run the script now, and then I just and I print selection, just gonna type print and then the name of the variable. So if I run this, it's basically giving me the 3 objects. So what this variable is basically a list. So a list, it can contain multiple variable. It's basically a container of variable, and the way I access a list, so this list has got multiple elements. So in this case it's 3 elements. So if I want to get the first element of the list, I just have to put brackets and then put the ID of the object. So let's say I want to just grab the P cylinder, the first object. I just have to put 0, and now if I run the script, I can access just the first object. So we're talking about objects, but this is actually just a string of text. This is just text basically. So now we have the selection stored into a variable. Let's see if we can go through all these objects, and to go through all these objects, we just have to use a for loop. So we're just gonna say for selected in selection, and then we're just gonna put a column, and now we're gonna press enter. And now that we pressed enter, you can see that this is leaving a space. So this space is called indentation, and it's basically it's gonna define whatever is happening inside the for loop. So if I do not use an indentation, the action will not be happening in the loop. So let's make it print the selected object, and we also gonna take a look at what this variable is doing. So basically what I'm saying here is that for selected each object in the selection, just pass each object in the selection into this variable called selected. So basically what it's going to do is going to take the 3 objects and then just go through each of them, and every time I want to access this object into the loop, I just have to use the selected variable. So let's see when I run this, what happens. So it's basically printing the 3 names. So selected, it becomes in the first cycle of the loop is gonna be P cylinder 2, then P sphere, and then P cube. Okay. Alright, so now what we're gonna do, we're just gonna let's add a prefix to this 3 objects, and basically what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just create a new variable that's gonna be the new name. I'm just gonna call it new name, and then now I just put equal. Let's say we have these objects that are like left and right, so I want to put the prefix that's L underscore and then the name of the object. I can just type L underscore and then put a plus and then the name of the object, which is going to be selected in this case. And so let's see what happens when I do this. We're gonna make it just print the name, new name, so it's not doing anything at the moment. So it's basically the new name is gonna be L underscores P cylinder. So it's doing what we expected. So we added the prefix. So let's copy this guy and just put a comment. Yeah, and let's make sure that we are in the same indentation, otherwise it's going to throw an error. So we're adding the prefix, and now we have to rename the object. Let's put this here. We don't need the print statement anymore. So typos. Okay, so we say that the command to rename the object is cmds.rename. So we have rename selected, and then the second argument is going to be new name. And let's see what happens if we run the script. So now everything is being renamed the way we expected. Okay, so let's see if we can do something a bit more advanced. Let's say that I was wrong. These guys are not on the left side, they're on the right side. So let's see how we can do search and replace. So what we have to do, we're just gonna get the selected object, and then since this I said that this object is basically a variable, which is a string, and the string variable has got functions that we can use to manipulate the string. So I can use one function in selected, just dot replace, and then as a first argument I have to put whatever is I want to replace. So in this case it's L, and then I want to replace it with R. And let's see what happens. So now I've replaced L underscore with R underscore. Cool. Okay, so well, basically now we're able to do whatever my tools are able to do. Let's see if we can get into something a bit more advanced. Okay, cool. Alright, so let's get into something a bit more complex now. So first thing, I'm just gonna make the text bigger in case you guys can't read it. I hope it's been working fine before. But anyways, this is the code. Okay, so let's say I'm having an object in the scene and I'm working on an environment, and then I'm duplicating the object around and I'm just being very careless with all the I don't care about the renaming, and now I have to rename a bunch of objects, and then I'm using I have to use the studio naming convention, which is basically is gonna be name of the object, then underscore, then it's gonna keep like three digits for the number, and then underscore, and then the suffix, which is going to be in this case geo. Okay, so now I got all these objects and they have to be renamed, and I don't want to do it manually, like just call this like cylinder 001. So let's see how we can do that just using this for loop. So we're gonna use two functions that we haven't, two new functions that we haven't used before, and the first one, it's gonna be range, and then the other one is gonna be length. So let's take a look at range. So let's see what range does. Range is basically giving a sequence of numbers. So let's say I want to have a for loop that it loops like 10 times. So I can go like for I in range, we say 10 times, which is gonna be 10. We're just gonna print I. So basically what this is doing is feeding like a sequence of 10 numbers. Just remember, keep in mind that the first number is always 0, so it's not going to be from 1 to 10, but from 0 to 9. So, and then the other function that we're going to use is called length, which is basically is going to give the length of a string. So the length of a, well, in this case it can be a variable, because if it is a string, it's going to give us the length of the characters in the string, and if it is a list, it's going to give the number of elements in the string. So let's see how that works. So if I select this, guys, and then I just run the script and get the selection, and I want to know how many objects I've selected, I just have to, I can do print and then length and selection. It's gonna tell me that I have 12 elements selected. So we can combine length and range to have basically the current to number objects. So let's edit this this for loop. We're just gonna put for I, which is basically the variable that we're gonna use to get an index. That's the naming convention for it. So I'm just gonna say range, and then we're gonna go instead of putting a number, I'm just gonna use length and then selection. So now it's gonna basically go through the loop for the number of elements in the list. But right now what we're doing, we're not getting the current element. So what we have to do, we have to get the selector. So let's go selector equals, and I'm just gonna put selection, which is the list, and then we're gonna put I as index for the selection. So basically now we're just getting the old, basically the current name, the current object. So if I just what did I do wrong? I in range. Always forget that. Okay, so now it's basically typing all the objects. So so now we have the selected object, and now we have to do the we have to basically create the new name. So in this case, we're gonna just define some variables here on the top, just to be more organized. And we say that the naming convention, I forgot, I deleted that one. It's gonna be name underscore, then digit, and then the here's gonna be the suffix. Okay, so we just need name as a variable, and in this case it's gonna be cylinder, and then the suffix is going to be, let's say, geo, right? Okay, so we got these two variable. So we can, if we have to perform the same action, we just have to modify these two parameters, and it's just more organized. So let's make the new name. So the new name is going to be name. So we say plus well, now we need to put the number, and the number, first of all, let's create another variable, and we're gonna call it number, and we're just gonna use I, which is the current index, and then what we're gonna do, we're gonna turn I into a string. So to turn it into a string, I'm just gonna have to type str, and then we can use, to add the digit, we can use this function that is called zfill, and we say we want 3 digits, so I'm gonna put 3. So the new name is gonna be name plus underscore, and plus number plus underscore, and then plus suffix. So let's make it print the new name. Yeah, so it's working fine. The only thing is that now it's starting from 0, and we don't want that. So we want it to start from 1. So I can just type I plus 1. Let's see. Yes, and now it's working. Okay, so now we have the new names, but before we do that, there is a way that is a bit more elegant than using just the plus. So let's see if we can use another method in the string object, and it's going to be format. So what I can do, I can just create a new string, and I'm just gonna put curly brackets, and the curly brackets, they will be replaced by the variables. So I'm just gonna put curly brackets here. In this case, I can put even the index, so it can be 0, 1, 2, 1 and 2, and then I can use this function that it's called format, and then between parentheses I have to put the variables that I want to be replaced by the curly brackets. So in this case, it's gonna be the name, then comma, then the number, and then the suffix. Okay, so now we should be able to run the script and see if it's gonna rename it the way I expected. Yeah, it worked. So this could be useful in case you guys work in a studio that doesn't have any renaming tool and you have to do things on your own. I hope you find this useful. If you have doubts and if there is something that you think I did cover well, just leave a comment, and I will reply. Okay, just take care, and yeah, like and subscribe if you find this useful. Yeah, I'll see you next time.